Bueno, nosotros somos el equipo conformado por Maggie Reyes, Jimena Valdés, Alejandra Valvares, Yasmin Nardi y su servidora Melissa Retos. Nosotros entrevistamos al profesor Timothy, quien es de Estados Unidos.
Before getting to know Mexico and their citizens, what do you think about them?
For fear of sounding very racist, I'm not even sure what I would say, but I think just in a very general stereotypical sense, unfortunately, many Americans, Mexico is basically like tequila, big hats, and maybe tacos, but they've never tried real tacos, so I'm gonna go with those stereotypes.
Okay. Now that you have been living here, has that opinion that you have changed?
Yes, of course it has. Till? Well, good grief, I've been here for almost 10 years, and so I know that Mexico is just a little bit more than tequila and sombreros and, and tacos, and so this country, just like any country, is incredibly complex, and there's just so many good things and so many bad things, and yeah, of course, my perspective on the country has changed enormously.
Can you describe Mexico in 3 words?
Again, at the risk of sounding racist, I would say the first things that come to mind are Mexicans are generally very warm, like cálidos. I felt very welcomed in general. I would say color too. There's so much color here in general. You see it in cultural celebrations, you see it in holidays, whereas there isn't near as much variety of color. And in general, the United States looks a lot more boring than Mexico does. I would say pride too, because in general there's a lot of national civic pride for the country. People are very cynical about certain things like politics, and there's a lot of, even like how people say ni modo so much, just, for so much of the stuff that apparently can't be changed in the country. But I would say still that for example, on the 15th of September, it's so much more enjoyable than the 4th of July is in the United States, because people paint their faces, and even the fact that you guys have a grito, the whole point is we're so proud to be Mexican, we're gonna yell, and I know that people are very ashamed and cynical about the country as well. But yeah, so warmth, color, and national pride. That was 4 words.
And can you describe now Mexicans in 3 words?
Oh man, there's gonna be some overlap. I don't know how my answer is going to be all that different, because so much of how my experience has been in Mexico is because of the people that I've met, and so I would say that largely I'm going to go with the first one again. I'm going to say warmth, because in general, there are racist people everywhere, but for the most part, I've always felt very welcomed in this country, and people are very friendly, oh, that's cool, why are you here, and how long have you lived here, and so yeah, warmth, interpersonal warmth. I'll make the third one the second one this time and say pride, because it's just different. It feels a lot different than the United States, where people are generally if you're lucky on the 4th of July, people might go get hamburgers and have a barbecue, and then maybe go see fireworks at night. But generally, people are very, very excited to be Mexican here. So warmth, pride, those are the same 2. Any different? I suppose those are 2 very good ones. One bad one? No, but do I want to? It's so hard though, because I'm having to talk about all Mexicans, which is ridiculous. But I guess I would say this is kind of negative, but because not everybody is like this. But one of the stereotypes about the culture is that a lot of people don't know how to say no. So, and that's not a lot of Mexicans know how to say no. It's it's easy, no. But a lot of people hey, you're gonna go to the party, and yeah, sure, and then you don't go, and they're where were you? Oh, my mom got sick, or something like that, and so it's a stereotype, and it's not always true. But
what do you think are the 3 biggest problems that Mexico has?
Oh man, I guess the biggest one, the first one that comes to mind is drug trafficking. Even though the United States is a big part of the reason why that's so bad, but so drug trafficking. I don't know. stereotypes, but corruption in the government and many levels of society. And then corruption kind of leads to general inefficiency. Like it's hard to get stuff done, not always, but often, because things aren't as efficient as they could be because of corruption or because of bureaucracy or whatever.
And now, can you say 3 positive things about Mexico?
No. Yeah. Sure. 3 positive things just about the culture in general. I think in general, and I can only speak from my own experience, Mexico is friendly to immigrants, people who aren't from here, generally. Maybe not always, but it's certainly been my experience. Like friendly to foreigners, and that's certainly not the case in the United States where I'm from with a lot of people. There's so much cultural diversity. Like even, it's overwhelming still, in a good way. A holiday like Day of the Dead, where it's like, yeah, sure, there are Catholic elements, but then it's also like indigenous religion and who knows what else. And so there's a lot of cultural diversity, and that also has to do with all the dialects that are spoken in Mexico, and those indigenous cultures are kind of dying, but it's still amazing how much diversity there is here. And then another thing, it's easy, the food. The food is unbelievable. So much variety, and it's also good. That's not Mexican though, that doesn't count. A hamburger is not Mexican food, so.
And what differences can you find between Mexico and your country?
I'm gonna take the easy way out and say ever since Trump has become president, it's been harder for me to find similarities between these two countries. Differences, I think, is easier. One significant similarity, and this is gonna sound bad, I know not everybody does it, but in general in the past, the United States has treated our indigenous populations horribly, in general, and Mexico has too. That's negative. Positive similarities. It's certainly, if you've been to the United States, it's certainly, and probably Canada as well, it depends on where you go. There are really open, really warm, really friendly people, but like it's more the norm in Mexico, I feel like. And in the United States, you can go to like certain regions of the South and find people that are really warm and friendly, but for the most part, it's not that people aren't friendly, but not at first. They're like, how you doing? You know, and it takes a while to get to know them. But I don't know what else to say.
Where do you think you can have a better lifestyle? Here in Mexico or where you were born?
It depends. I think it depends on what country you're from, if you're an immigrant, what you've studied, the qualifications that you have. I think you can be an immigrant in the United States and have an amazing life. I think you can be an immigrant in the United States and have an absolutely terrible life. It depends on so many factors. What you've studied, what you haven't studied, who you know, how well you speak the language, where exactly you live. So it depends.
And what are some things that you don't like about Mexican people?
I don't know, I guess I'll go back to again, this of course in no way applies to all Mexicans, but the stereotype that Mexicans don't know how to say no, even though lots of Mexicans know perfectly well how to say no. What else? As like 5 of you are staring at me wondering what I'm going to say. Yeah, what I really hate about Mexico. Man. Again, this in no way applies to everybody, but malinchismo in general is just overrated because there's a lot. Obviously, there are certain things that are made outside of Mexico that are better quality than things made in Mexico, and that's always going to be the case. But I think this idea that whatever is better than Mexican it's a terrible idea because Mexico has a lot to offer.
And if you had an opportunity to send a message to all the Mexican people, either positive or negative, what would you tell them?
I will change my answer from yesterday's to, I think I'll just be grateful. Like, thanks. Thanks for letting me be an immigrant in your country.
Thank you, teacher.